Okay then, we saw some super interesting stuff go on in the Overwatch League yesterday, and this concerns the two Texas teams. So, we're going to cover first of all this rumour, and it is the rumour that the Houston Outlaws are going to sign Happy. Now, Happy was released from the Guangzhou Charge. He was a phenomenal hit scan player, and if so, this is an incredibly good upgrade on Linkser, who the Houston Outlaws let go. So, I think that would be an incredibly interesting pickup for Houston Outlaws, and it's one that I really didn't expect. I thought the Dallas Fuel were going to get Happy in all fairness, and that hasn't actually occurred. So, in that case, Houston Outlaws are making significant improvements if they can bring in someone like that. And it means, in my opinion, I think the Houston Outlaws are on an upward trajectory. And it also means that I think we could see some more POG signings in the future from the Houston Outlaws, although it does bring into light why on earth they got rid of Mecca and people like that. And there's still a lot of unknowns around the Houston Outlaws, and this isn't confirmed either. This is a rumour. We have to make sure that we take that into account. But it is super interesting, and so it's something we will keep a very close eye on as we move forward through this offseason. It's the first bit of news we've heard around the Houston Outlaws properly. They have been linked with Super, but nothing properly good in terms of rumour-wise. So they've also been linked with the Talon Esports, or former Talon Esports off-tank Piggy, which again is another really interesting pickup. Could they be going down the route of going all Korean? No, because they got Dante. So this is definitely going to be a mixed roster of Korean and Western influence. It would make sense with Junkbuck in charge now. He was at the San Francisco Shock, so he's probably going to take a bit after Krusty's own heart, which will be very interesting, and it could shape up to be a very good roster. You put in Happy alongside Dante. It's looking okay. It's looking okay so far for Houston Outlaws, but we now must move over to the blue side of Texas. Because I tell you what, if we get a battle for Texas next year, and it contains Happy and the player that Dallas Fuel have just signed, boy oh boy, it's going to be one hell of a battle for Texas. We have our final player that we wanted to see for the Dallas Fuel, and Mike Raphael has actually confirmed that this is apparently the 2021 Dallas Fuel. So, who was the last piece of the jigsaw? Some people thought it was DM, some people thought it was going to be Happy, some people didn't know. It turns out it was the person we originally thought. It's Exy. So, Exy was a weird one, simply because we all thought that he was not going to the Fuel. We saw the rumours and stuff like that he wanted to be on a mixed roster, etc, and he's now ended up at the Fuel with most of his ex-Paris teammates, including, obviously, Hambin and Fielder, alongside the coaches as well. So, Mike Raphael came out afterwards and confirmed, and on Twitter anyway, saying, your 2021 Dallas Fuel, Doha, Sparkle, Xe, Fearless, Hanbin, Fielder, Rappel, and Jexer, alongside the coaches of Rush, Yong, and Aid, is stacked. It's very stacked, and it's going to be super interesting to see how this team works out. This has got to be considered a top 5 roster. I don't think anyone can really go against that. I know there are a lot of doubts around the Dallas Fuel as an organization and Envy as an organization. They have always seemed to have this ability to self-destruct Dallas Fuel in some way or another. In Season 1, it was XQC, and a little bit of Rascal as well. And then this season, or this season just gone, we saw Decay have problems, and that sort of self-destruct. There were a lot of rumours during the season that a lot of the team were playing Valorant, and they weren't actually playing Overwatch. Really, the Fuel was just a 6-man team, and that was the people that played scrims. Everyone else was off playing Valorant. AKM, Trill was one of them apparently as well. So it was really weird what was happening at Dallas Fuel, but this entire clear out has changed this team entirely. This will not be a Dallas Fuel we are used to. And I've said it before in other videos, and I'll say it again now. Like, if this Fuel team fails, I honestly don't think there is any hope for this org in the Overwatch League. Like, this is stacked. When you look at this team, they came from Element Mystic and one from GC Busan Wave. And the rest of them, like Paris Eternal last year, they're proven talent. Okay, let's go through this, shall we? Doha was at the Dallas Fuel. We knew he was at the Dallas Fuel. He was proven, he was good, he was great for Dallas last year. Then we look at Sparkle, Paris Eternal. He was great for Paris Eternal. Exley was great for the Paris Eternal. Fearless comes in from Shanghai Dragons. Fearless was one of the best main tanks in the Overwatch League last year, if not the best. I would probably give it to Smurf right now, but Fearless was one of the best main tanks in the league. Hanbin, great at the Paris Eternal. I don't think he's realised his top echelon of play yet, Hanbin. I really don't think so, and I think he still has the possibility to be one of the best off tanks in this league. Under the right circumstances, I think he will pop off, and being alongside a tank like Fearless is going to unlock so much potential for some of these players, I think, as well, which is something we could go into further detail on at another point. Then we have Fielder. Fielder came in as a massive rookie last year, midway through the season, played on 200 ping, and just blew everyone's minds away when he was playing for the Paris Eternal, and he is this very big flex support prospect. Very, very big flex support prospect. And it'll be interesting to see what Dallas Fuel do, because he's alongside another flex support in Repel. Repel has a lot of this experience. There's no doubt about that. Repel has a lot of experience. But who would you play, Repel or Fielder? Repel is going to have more synergy with the rest of the Fuel lineup because he's Element Mystic roots. Fielder doesn't have that. But Fielder, I think, is the better player. On paper, I think he's the better player right now, so it'll be very interesting to see how they go about organising this roster and who they turn out with in 2021. Then, on the main support role, we're looking at Jexter. There's no one to challenge Jexter in that role. It's going to be very interesting to see how he does. I think he showed some great play for the Houston Outlaws last season. Especially early on in the season, we saw him carry fights for the Houston Outlaws, and so I think he's a fantastic pickup. I really, really do. So, this is, if we are to go by what Mike Raphael is saying, this is it for Dallas. There'll be no more moves. I think it's incredibly good to get the moves sorted out early on. I think it gives this team a lot of time to scrim, a lot of time to prepare. They should be the most prepared team coming into 2021 season, which is going to be really interesting. I think this is very good management from the Dallas Fuel, like very, very good management to get this all sorted out. And I think this might have been in the planning before the season even ended. And I think that's possibly why Dallas tailed off slightly and had some problems, especially when like Aero went and things weren't like nailed down. I think they were already planning for something like this when he left. So when we look at this, I also want to tot up like the players, like 3 DPS players, 2 tanks, and then 3 supports. So we're looking at an 8-player team. That's about where I think that is the base for the league, right? You have to have 8 players signed. So that's the minimum you can have. I think a lot of teams will be like that. I think a lot of teams will have the minimum player allocation for 2021 because of cutting costs. I think that's a very realistic prospect. I think London will do something similar. Paris will definitely do that because they just don't have the money. Shock are slightly slimming down their roster as well. The only team that I could say right now that really don't look like they're doing that is Hangzhou Spark. They look like they're going for a pretty big roster. But I expect a lot of teams to be around between that 8 and 10 player mark. I think this is fine for Dallas. I really think this is fine for Dallas. You want to keep consistency. One thing I will always say is I like to see consistency in the tank roles. I like to see a really prominent, good main tank that never gets swapped in and out. And I like to see a really good, prominent off tank that never gets swapped in and out. When you look at a lot of teams around the league, last season, Philadelphia Fusion, they had Sado. And that was it. They had Sado. Like, Sado was their main tank, mainstay. Shanghai Dragons most of the season, Fearless. And then they go in the grand finals and for some reason decide to take Fearless out and play stand 1, and look how it ended out for them. For San Francisco Shock, it's like a slightly unique case because of Krusty, but most of the time we saw Smurf and we saw Choi Coben. But Choi Coben was a very big rock in that off-tank role. There's always a rock in that tank role. Whether it be the off-tank or the main tank, I like to see a rock there that never sort of changes. And you can kind of form a team around them. And that is what the Dallas Fuel are doing here, but they're having both roles as that. So we're seeing the team, I think, the team will definitely be picked around Fearless and Hanbin. And they've got that slight bit of flexibility, because now they've got that long range pop-off hit scan with Exi. Doha, who's kind of like I don't want to say a jack of all trades, but Doha's got a lot more to him, and then Sparkle for that proper hard dive when you want something like a Genji or things like that. We know how good Sparkle could be on the Doomfist as well. And then you've got Jexa, who's always going to be your main support, and then you've got the slight difference in Repel and Fielder. And I think that'll be interesting to see how that pans out, because I'm not sure how that will pan out with Fielder and Repel. Because it just seems like an understudy and a master at the moment in terms of experience. So I'm not sure how that will turn out. And I think Repel might find himself spending a lot of time on the bench. If I was to be honest about it, I think Repel might find himself playing a lot of the time on the bench, or Dallas could use him for sort of different comments. But this is very, very interesting from Dallas. Very promising news, and very promising the rumors around Houston Outlaws as well. Two Texas teams are starting to pop off in this transfer window, and we have the end of the Dallas Fuel story, and we're only at the start of the Houston Outlaws story. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how it all pans out. But I'm going to leave it here for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.